Welcome to another episode of Spirit Rising. Today we're talking about long lost relatives and pigeons. Listen in today as Sharyn talks about finding relatives she has been searching for over 50 years. And what is the connection to pigeons? Well, you're going to have to listen in to find out. Let's get started.
Hey everybody. Hi again, and thank you for coming on board. Welcome back to Spirit Rising with Psychic Sharyn Rose. I'm really excited about today's episode because of weirdest, strangest things, and the synchronicity of the universe is astounding. I'm going to just dig right in. Why not? I have always believed, and I know a lot of you believe too, that the universe is a very synchronistic place, that there is logic and there's an order to everything. And I believe that very strongly. I work with too many clients who have too many experiences that are there to teach them lessons and give them messages and that are synchronistic with the story that's currently going on in their lives. Well, I've just had the most fascinating, interesting experience pop up for myself. A little while ago, I'll go back. A little while ago, I went on ancestry.ca with a request, of course. I did the DNA test and sent in the sample and all that. And I just got the results back just the beginning of last week or the end of last week. And I finally just got a chance to actually go on and take a look at what those results were. And of course, I've always known who my dad's family was. I've always known who they were. And I've known the majority of my mother's family as well. But as you know, every family has their history. And in my mother's case, when she was born in Ontario, and she was born in 1928, so it was a long time ago, 95 years. And when she was born, her mom worked and her dad worked. And when she was about 3 years old, her dad came to the babysitters. This is the story I know. Now it could change because I'll fill you in as we go. But this is the story as I know it. He went to the babysitters and picked up my mother and said that he was going to take her to go clothes shopping. She was 3. He got on a train and it came out to British Columbia, where his family was from, and wired back to her saying, "We're in British Columbia at my mother's. If you want to join us, you're welcome. If not, divorce." And this would have been in roughly 1931, okay, that this would have happened. And as you know, between 1931 and today, there's been a lot of world events take place. Of course, one of them was the war. And so my mother was then raised by her grandmother, who was my great-grandmother, who I absolutely adored. And you've heard me talk about her. She's the wonderful lady who gave me her sty after she passed. And if you don't know that story, well, you can email me. Anyway, this is episode 89 now. So there's all kinds of podcast episodes that are up. Anyways, she was raised by her father and her grandmother, which is my great-grandmother, in a little tiny town in northern BC, a small town. There's hardly any people there. I mean, we had a 3-room schoolhouse that my mother actually taught in when I was born. She was a teacher. The 3-room schoolhouse housed from grade 1 to grade 7. So that tells you how many young families there were in the community at that time. It was a very small town. Anyways, my mom's mom decided not to come out and join them. So they got divorced and life went on. Now, this was in 1931, and then around 1938 or thereabouts, 1940, my grandfather, my mother's dad, married again, and they started having a family, and mom by this time is around 10 years old. And so now she's got half siblings, and there's not a whole lot that I know about those days, except that Mom would talk about the war, and she would talk about the things that she remembered, like grape jelly and olives and things being rationed, stuff like that. But she never really talked a lot about her childhood. What I did know was that she has never to this day, and my mother is still alive at 95, she has never to this day seen pictures of or knows of her mother, has never met her mother, her birth mother. And so, making a long story short, because this could get really long, I decided that when I got my ancestry results back and I finally got a chance to go on, I decided to check out my maternal side of the family because I really do know dad's side. I know it pretty good. As a matter of fact, I did a family tree for dad's side, and I've met a lot of the relatives there as well. But mom's side, when it comes to her mother, of course, is complete mystery. We know none of them, not known of any cousins, any uncles, any aunts. We don't know. We only knew when I was, oh, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12, her grandfather, we called him Grandpa Bedford, came out from Ontario to meet her. And with him, he had his daughter, Jean, who would have been my mother's aunt. And that was the lady that was babysitting when my grandfather took her and went clothes shopping, supposedly, but jumped a train. Anyways, they came to see her. And I remember when I was a little girl, first of all, I didn't know what all the kerfuffle was about. I had no clue because I didn't even know there was another grandmother in the picture. I just thought that the lady my grandfather was married to was my grandmother. I just didn't know. Anyways, she greeted her grandfather and her aunt and had their visit or whatever. And then they went back to Ontario and then he passed away. So that was it. That was mom's contact with her family. And then years later, I remember sitting with mom at one point and I remember her showing me the divorce certificate from her dad. And this is years and years later. And now I know there's a story, and I know that mom was taken from her mother and brought out west. And I know she was raised by the people in Fort Fraser or in my little town. Anyways, she showed me this divorce certificate, and it had the reasons on there why they were divorced, which is irrelevant now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. But mom was a little bit upset with the rules. Of course, there was charges of infidelity, which is back in the day. I mean, come on now, we're talking in the 30s and 40s. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And then there was, and she also had been told that her mom didn't want her, that she wanted to give her away. And so that's why her dad took her. She was also told that her mother was committed to an insane asylum. And I have a feeling her mom may have had a nervous breakdown. Back in the day, asylum was the word that anybody would use, hospital, mental hospital, whatever it would be. She may have, I don't know. But I'm on the trail of finding out all of that information. And for years, I was on various different sites and places where you could go and try and get information on missing people or people that you were looking for in family, et cetera, et cetera. And I could never get any information. I always had their last name, but I could never get any information on anything because, of course, she married. I didn't know who she married, so I didn't know her last name. I'm talking about my grandmother, my mother's mom. I didn't know who she married, so I didn't know what family to even look for. Well, I got my ancestry results back in just this last week, and I started searching on the maternal side for relatives of my mother. Lo and behold, up pops a first cousin. Only one first cousin. And I'm like, oh my God. I was in shock. She's actually what would be called a half first cousin. Her father is my mother's half brother. He's still alive, and he's 18 years younger than her. Now, go figure. Go figure. It was bizarre. So I sent a note to her telling her who I was and that I'd found to this young lady who I believe would probably be in her 40s. The same age as my kids, actually, to be honest. Her dad is only 7 years older than me. So her mother was having kids late in life when my mother was having children. Isn't that interesting? Anyways, so she got back to me right away. She was like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. She was shocked. And I was shocked that she got back to me right away. And I was blown away by some of the things she sent me, but she sent me some pictures. And I looked at the pictures and I could just feel this incredible emotion of, wow, I found the lost bloodline that I haven't been able to find all of my life. And I was stunned. I looked at the pictures. I could see the resemblance between mom and her mom. These are pictures my mother has never seen. I looked at the pictures of her, the cousin, her dad. I looked at his pictures and I could see my brother Neil, and his eyes are identical. There was so many similarities that I was just absolutely floored. And the fact that this young lady sent this information back so quickly and was so, and she said she had heard about this story she'd heard about it later in the day. Her dad had never known about this story until he was a full adult, and it was through his wife, because her grandmother, who is also my grandmother, who is the lady in question here, that I've been looking for. She told her son's wife about having given up my mother. And the true story has been told. I don't know what the true story is because I don't know if what my mother was told was the truth. Because remember, she was told what she was told by people who didn't really like the fact that this woman had let her daughter go, and that there was a lot of anger and whatnot back in the day, of course. So I still don't know exactly what the whole truth is. But the cousin that I've been able to reconnect with sent me all these pictures, and I was absolutely floored and thrilled and delighted and shocked and so excited. And as it turns out, she lives in Toronto or around Toronto, and she is with her work. She's coming out to Edmonton, go figure, tomorrow. Tomorrow, everybody, tomorrow. So, tomorrow, I am going to drive up to Edmonton and meet her at her hotel and have dinner. And I'm going to meet a first cousin, a half first cousin, same grandmother. We have the same bloodline grandmother that I didn't even know existed. And she's going to bring a bunch more pictures that I'm going to be able to share with my family so that people can actually see the maternal side of our family. That to me is an amazing story. I think it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. She didn't know how her dad would take all this because he's, of course, my mother's half brother. And she didn't know how he would take this. So she told her mom that her and I had been talking. And her mom told her dad, and he's pretty excited. And so he's been running around digging out pictures to give to her so that she can have them to bring out so that, or I guess he's going to send them to her. I don't know, whatever. But she's going to be in Edmonton tomorrow night, and I'm having dinner with her at 6 o'clock at her hotel. Here's the other part of this. Remember, I was talking at the beginning of this, and I'll catch you up on this story as time goes by. But the other part of this is synchronicity, how things happen in the universe and divine timing, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sitting in my office and I called my husband up right after I got home from work. I said, come on up here quickly. And I said, listen. And you could hear this scuttling around, this feet, little footprints, and all over the place. And he opens the door onto my balcony off my office. And in the soffit, there are pigeons in the soffit. And I'm like, pigeons? We've had to evict squirrels. We've had to evict mice. Not very often. I mean, we've been here quite a while. We've only ever had to do it like twice with squirrels and once with mice. But we've never ever had a problem with pigeons. In fact, we never even saw a pigeon until this year. And we thought they were so cute as they were eating seeds off the deck. Ha, ha, ha. They've built a nest in the soffit. And David's like, I don't know how to get rid of them. He's going to have to talk. And I said, well, if there's a nest, you got to leave it till the babies are grown. But I thought, I'm a very spiritual person. And I thought pigeons, what is the connection between pigeons and life? What do pigeons mean? Let me read this to you. And this is out of Stephen Farmer's book, Animal Spirit Guides. And let me read this to you. If pigeon shows up, it means you're about to receive an important message from an unexpected source in an unexpected way. How about that? Keep your mind on the goal that's just ahead. Stay with it and you'll get there. No matter where you are in this world, you can draw on the feelings of home, by closing your eyes, remembering what it was like, and breathe in the feeling. If you're going through any kind of struggle, look to your family and close friends for support and compassion. Call on pigeon when you're feeling alone and lost and need to find your way home, wherever that is and whatever that means to you. Well, let's face it, when you can find a piece of your family tree that has been missing your whole life, isn't that a piece of home? Isn't that what that's all about? And it goes on to say, you've had a volatile and disturbing childhood, and you want to experience greater stability, peace, and a sense of a place as an adult. You have a long way to go with a project, and you need the endurance and perseverance to complete it. All these are potentials with the pigeon, but in my particular case, it does represent family and it does represent home. And I am so excited that I get to meet my half first cousin, who is in her 40s, I'm assuming, tomorrow at 6 o'clock in Edmonton. It just so happened that she's flying out here for business, and I'm so pumped. What are the odds that pigeons are going to, the first time ever in all the years we've been here, going on 10 years now, we've never seen a pigeon, let alone had one camp out in our soffits. How cool is that? Synchronicity, people. Always know that synchronicity is a really big part of our story. I'm going to pull a card for you. Actually, you know what? I'm going to just flip through the book and I'm going to just randomly pick that way instead of picking a card because I don't have a deck sitting right here. The lark. You're entering a cycle where you'll be completely happy and free of worry. And rather than looking to others, go inside to find the answers that you're seeking. That's the message for you today from the Lark. Isn't that a good message? You're entering a cycle where you'll be completely happy and free of worry. And rather than looking to others, go inside to find the answers you're seeking. Of course, inside means in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit. Thanks for coming and hanging out. I'm going to update this. I will have a new blog come out that will actually talk about the meeting that I'm having with my first cousin, and maybe I'll be able to share some names. I don't want to do that for privacy reasons at this point, but for those of you that are listening in, keep paying attention to what's coming up on the podcast, because I think you'll enjoy the catch up that we have, and it'll close some blank doors that have always been opened and nobody's really known what the true story is. I'm very, very excited. In the meantime, don't be afraid to go over to www.sharynrose.com. The podcast is on there. There's a blog on there. It's in text. You can also check out the website, all the information, the things that I do, the services I have. Right now, I am currently encouraging people that are wanting to sign up as coaching clients to book their 1-hour appointment and get signed up. Come in for that consult, because maybe we won't match and coaching will be out of the question, but I'm focusing more on coaching clients right now than I am on actual 1-hour clients. But a 1-hour consult is required before you can be brought on as a coaching client. Anyway, so if you're interested in something like that, anything to do with your health, your wealth, your career, your life, your crossed over loved ones, with grieving, with your weight, with having babies, any of that stuff, I can help. I know I can help because I have helped thousands so far. If you're on Facebook, don't be afraid to go over to Sharyn Rose Psychic Coach and Medium Facebook page. Every Wednesday, we have cards face down, and then on Thursday, they get turned up. And on Wednesday, you can pick which ones you want to have the message given to you. And on Thursday, come back and check it out. Come and do that too. And again, don't forget, there's a whole lot of other episodes before this, episode 89, on the podcast. In the meantime, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And I will see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Rising with Psychic Sharyn Rose, formerly the Medium Well podcast. Still the same great podcast with the same great advice from Sharyn Rose. Make sure you follow us on your favorite podcast player, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, and never miss an episode. All you have to do is follow on your favorite player, and you'll be able to catch a new episode of Spirit Rising with Psychic Sharyn Rose every Wednesday, released at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll talk to you next time.